is Mad Kitty's Studios. For some, it's the machinery, the churning side rods and the clickety-clack over the rails provide simple music that cannot be passed by any type of machinery anywhere else. For others, it's the whistle. Something so loud but yet so beautiful can compel one to write so many songs. For still others, the fact that machinery can still be found powered by steam locomotion is enthralling. Whatever way one looks at it, people just love steam locomotives. However, few really realize the amount of work it takes to make a steam locomotive operate. Let's take a look behind the scenes here at the Hesston Steam Museum and see what it takes to make a steam locomotive move, besides the steam. December 2009. Hesston, now dormant, lies under a carpet of snow. Freezing water in steam locomotive's pipes can cause them to break. So diesels are the primary motive power for the winter season. But now the winter season is over. Inside this building is actually very warm and alive. Here, the maintenance is done to the engines. Everything from boiler work to testing brakes is done during the winter season when the steam locomotives aren't needed. Locomotives that are being built right now, rebuilt, and cars that are being refurbished are also being adhered to. Jumping ahead, it is now 2 weeks before Memorial Day weekend. Spring is definitely upon us this time of year. Now the fruits of the labor spent during the winter get to be indulged. Locomotives can be tested now under steam. Minor adjustments are being made now as the little trains go out for their first spin of the year. Over at the 14-inch gauge shops, diesel locomotive number 5 was performing switching, steam locomotive number 2 was getting a new coat of paint, locomotive number 1 was getting boiler work. Our newest locomotive, a 484 Northern type, donated through the generosities of Bill McHenry, was being prepped for a hydrostatic test. Number 3, meanwhile, sat quietly in its bay.
Where it was coming from. Because we always keep the shut off on it. Wait a minute. That ain't right with it. Six. I gotta get it in there. They ran it last year.
After a long day's work, it's nice to have other uses for fire around Hesston. Fast forward one more week, the week before Memorial Day weekend. This is when Hesston becomes a much more livelier place. A lot of the more interesting testing had to be done. For instance, engineers had to be tested. The Kittyland Limited locomotive was double-headed with the museum's number 2 for the first time in over 40 years. The museum's O&K locomotive was also fired up. Next time you see a train at Hesston go by, just take a little time to reflect on how much work we've put in to all of our engines to make them run. As our general manager said, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a locomotive which moves is worth 1,000,000.
Take the lens cap off.